to our program. Today we have a very special guest. And you?
I'm Ace Miyagi.
And I am Heath Swervin.
And tell me, guys, what are you doing in your life?
Well, we're doing a bunch of stuff. A lot of things, but primarily we're making music.
Yes.
And we are co-owners of All Who's Based label, record label that is. And it's like a kind of an entertainment platform, so we do a lot of things.
It is.
But primarily, yes, music.
And we also do music together. That's pretty much why we started this record label.
Which name is?
It's called FreaQWhenSees, not to be misconstrued with frequencies, but as in FreaQWhenSees Records. And that has as much to do with who we are as musicians and people, and how we understand and see things in life generally. That things don't have to be so picture perfect, but the more abstract, the better.
And we meet here today because it's a premiere of your music video.
Exactly.
And now we're gonna see what you can do.
I mean, we're looking forward to it. You better show them. That's actually your video, right?
That's kind of my video, yes.
That's your video.
You're actually, you're only making subtle appearances.
I'm subtle appearances, a little bit of producing on it, but mostly...
It was actually, yeah.
But mostly I'm in the background because he shines so bright, you know?
Oh my
You just gotta make space for that.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
I'm a tall white man, swinging like tall sand, get it? Swinging like tall sand. Mean I'm hung like a night. Don't come to my jungle. You don't want none in my jungle. Hold at my foot like I'm Sun Tzu. Make the pussy wet, that's a money. No, I'm in a frenzy. I've been on point like the lead in my pencil. On the freeway, doing 90 in a rental. Smoking loud takes in a hand out the window. Talking that trash cause the bitch sentimental. Oh, you wanna talk, man? I ain't Jay Leno. From Rio to Veno, from Vino to Heno. I'm so damn demental, I'm so incidental. Yeah.
If you're looking for a reason, now you got it on.
Now you got it all.
We've been staying flexing so the money ain't a problem.
Money ain't a problem.
Know the squad leaving in a quarter to this 9.
Oh my God.
Holla at your mans if you need a room.
Yo, hello, I say, you talking to me. I said I gotta work hard. You using my time. Fuck all my enemies, try to bring me down when I'm in my song, yeah. Yo, visionary shit in my brain, this is from the earth. I don't want to complain day after day. I want to know what it is, but I can seem to find it. Even though I try to use my sixth senses, yeah, I'm still blinded. If you don't know who you are, use your time and figure it out. I'm a saying, you can try me. Who the fuck would edit that is lies? Look me deep in my eyes. What you seem to find is nothing new. Only your deepest in your mind. What's the key to open your eyes? And the worry I combine. I try.
If you're looking for a reason, now you got it on.
Now you got it all.
We've been staying flexing so the money ain't a problem.
Money ain't a problem.
Know the squad leaving in a quarter to this 9.
Oh my God.
Holla at your mans if you need a room.
Yeah, riding in the Benz out. Out with the lens go. Took a spark with the Flintstone, with the mental. She mental, gold on my dental. Breathe out, that's vento. Let it out, just breathe. Took a spark in the front seat. Eat the pussy like lunch meat. I'm gassing her baby on all the bonds. She told me she hurt by my condom size. She said she can't handle that silly vibe. Stop playing in my seat, now she furted loud. She had some good guns. I ran out, Forrest Gump. Before she coming out the fucking pond. Fuck a ring when you always win. It's like,
If you're looking for a reason, now you got it on.
Now you got it all.
We've been staying flexing so the money ain't a problem.
Money ain't a problem.
Know the squad leaving in a quarter to this 9.
Oh my God.
Holla at your mans if you need a room.
We just saw the video, it's awesome, and the lyrics are don't come to my jungle. You know nobody in my jungle.
Yes, you can.
So tell me, boys, because I heard that you were like living in a ghetto.
Right.
What is your background?
Oh.
Well, if you can go first.
You know, yeah, okay. My background is basically tall, so 82-20, and also 82-30, which is Uge hard. But basically, most of the upbringing was football and living in the projects, and to now actually having my partner who also lived in the projects back to living in the projects.
Well,
and,
yes.
And not alone did you bring yourself to the project. I'm gonna say projects a couple of times, just so you know.
Yeah.
Not alone did you bring one person to the project. He brought 3 other cats from our label to the same place in the projects.
We have some guys in the label that is very cumulative to doing like a lot of not very ghetto-ish stuff. So I decided to bring them back and actually do a reverse integration like that. So we went back, and my story for the project is I actually didn't grow up in the projects. I grew up in a train wagon.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's special. So my mom's is from Norway. Came to Denmark when I was. Yeah, I wasn't actually born at that point, but she came to Denmark because she wanted to study art science, and they bought like a place where they could build their own house. So they started buying like a train wagon, and then they built it out from that one. And that was very close to Uge08, but I think the area code is still 8,000 theoretically. So if we have to be theoretical about it, it's still 8,000. But because we grew up there and was kind of just on our own, then I had to like go out to places to meet like kindred spirits and young people to interact with. So that's why it brought me to the ghetto pretty much. So I don't
That's
have.
where you met.
Well,
yeah. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint. I'm a few years older than Victor, and I used to hang out with. We had like a collective, so pretty much raised together, most of us. There were 4 mothers that were all Norwegian and had husbands from different parts of the world, and their kids played together. Victor was among one of those kids, and I kind of jumped into that cipher because I was like, hey, there's people who speak English around here, and they don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that you use English as your first language. So that's how I interacted with Victor and others. And later on, me and Victor kind of clicked on the whole music tip, and that's how that fairy tale started.
And it's an awesome journey. And tell me why you are musicians, why you're not plumbers.
I mean, shout out to plumbing, though. You know.
Well, you know, you've been laying pipes for a while, though.
You gotta give respect to that. You know what I'm saying? With the monkey wrench and everything.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, I think at one point you ask yourself, what are you good at? You know, what are you good at? What type of things kind of appeal to your character? So I was a chubby kid growing up in the projects who really didn't like fighting or anything, but was awesome at playing sports. I could have been a soccer player, but I was chubby, so you know, they don't work together. So, I think through that came music and having older brothers that love music. Shout out to Tupac, you know, Biggie Smalls. That was a fight back then. And I think through that, I kind of found myself. I found out that I could be me and still make my music and still have people kind of like you for it, even though weird
love
concept.
You for it. Love you for it.
Merci beaucoup. And
I'm your biggest fan.
thank you so much. And I think that's what makes it all worth it, is to one day meet someone who says, hey, I appreciate the art, you displaying something from your heart and who you are as a being, and understanding it. And that's, I guess that's what I saw Victor saw in my music and I saw in his, and that's why we started FreaQWhenSees, because we're at that frequency. But it doesn't necessarily have to be frequencies as you see it. We just twisted it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, what he said, pretty much. I mean, I came from a very creative family. Like, as I mentioned, my mother do art. My sister is a fashion designer, and my dad used to do photography. So it was very natural for me to like use creativity to be like my outlet of emotion. So that was very. Yeah, and I always was keen for like hip hop culture and stuff like that. And we grew up with like a big group of breakdancers. Who still shout out to Familia Loca.
Always based.
So I was always like in hip hop, and for me I just needed a way of expression, and I didn't really dance, or I was a bit younger, so I didn't really jump on the dancing thing with them. So for me it was just natural to make music. So yeah.
But now you also produce and you write and you mix and you master. I only rap, you see. I'm from
he's very good at it.
One generation, one teen, you know. But then he comes along with his Will Smith life attitude and just does everything. Very well.
So what's coming this year? Because I saw you were traveling.
Yes.
Where were you?
We've been to a bunch of places already. Actually.
We started the year with Berlin. Right?
Started the year with Berlin.
4th of January, our female artist, our first lady, as we call her, Lotus Noir, who released a record in late 2018.
Yes.
She was playing at Madame Claude in Berlin, and we just kind of brought the whole crew out, and me and Victor had a featuring. So we featured on that. And 2 weeks later, we took a trip to I was just about to say Holland. Netherlands, Groningen, and they have coffee shops there. We found out. I found out.
Hey,
they have I just wanted to say that it's a true thing.
It's a thing. You know? And it was actually kind of cozy.
It was very cool.
Even though I don't indulge that much.
No, you
don't.
At all.
But you know. So yes, we've been and we was out in Groningen. We were out meeting with. We have like this big network of musicians all over Europe and the world. Basically, we're trying to expand as much as we can and work with different people around the world. So we're going to Cloudy Dio, shout out, and Leroy Menace, and I Am SOS.
Yes.
They were having a showcase, because at that time there was a festival in Groningen. I can't remember.
ESNS.
ESNS.
It's like a European music. It's kind of like Spot Festival-ish, what we have in Aarhus.
Yeah.
Just for local-based, and I think it's 3 festivals put in together, but it was dope.
Yeah.
And in Aarhus, do you find it like a creative space? Like you said, Lotus Noir, she's also a wonderful singer, and she's creating her own music. The girl is very talented. So do you find here like people that have the same flow and frequency like you?
I mean, I think we've captured the most of them. I mean, like it's kind of been like being in a weird Pokemon game where you kind of have this hip hop ball. And you're like, oh my God, you're really awesome. You have potential. You're cool. I pick you. And then, you know, if he's like, yeah, he's down. Then all of a sudden you have 10 artists that all speak a certain language, which primarily is English, but like we're all a little bit weird. You know, artists are weird. You might
in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. But
I think it comes very natural, because like as Matthew mentioned, is like we have this frequency. Which is kind of like, it's based off a vibe, and it's based off like natural give and take in the relationship of music, so to speak, or the creative relationship. So I think it's very natural that we get drawn to each other, more than we are out saying, oh, we want you. It's more like it's a natural, hey, we see what you're doing and we recognize you. Let's try to work together, and then it builds, and then it becomes like more of like relationship or family type thing, more than a business, actually. Yeah.
And you end up living together in the projects.
Yes. And now we all under the same roof, basically. So yeah.
With how many animals?
Yes. Yes.
So tell me, what is your values then? Because this is what you say, I can guess what are your values, but what do you stand for?
I mean, I think we definitely stand for is artistic integrity. It's amazing to meet younger artists and people who have a vision that they want to put out in the world, but also make them aware that the music industry doesn't really care about your vision unless you have X number of followers who are like, yeah, that person's cool. But if you really want to show yourself, you have to display a side that no one has ever seen before, and that makes you open to a lot of critique. In this case, all of our artists have this. They have the free will to do exactly what they want to do. They have us as guidance in the sense of, well, just know if you do this, these people are going to be like, we're not messing with you anymore. But these people might like you, so you get to have the pros and cons and consequences. And I think from there on, it's just being able to do what you want and what you love without having any attachments or anything. So artistic integrity, do what you want, what you feel, the raw emotion, and have a group of special people behind you that are like, yeah, we co-sign that.
Once again, he's spilling the beans, man. But yes, I mean, I think yes, family values. We try to take family values and kind of put them in business, aspect, because I think it's very important that we have like love for each other and work on that basis rather than we want to make a lot of money or we want to have a lot of cars or shit like that.
That comes naturally because we're gangsters like that. That comes naturally.
You know,
you just stick together.
And this what you said, in these days that we are living, is it easier to, for example, record your music on your own, that you don't have to find and wait to be discovered? And this social media, does it help? Is it a game changer?
I'd say for a lot of people who want their music out, it's a super big game changer. I mean, you don't have to. You've cut out all the middlemen, basically. But at the same time, it also makes it hard to control or sustain this the quality of music, so to speak. So just because something is released on Spotify doesn't mean that, then it has to be good because Spotify said that it's open. No, it's not how it works. Everyone can release music. Music is also, objective at the same time. Popular music isn't. So if you want to make money, then you do it this way. If you want to make music, then you just make music. We're trying to combine those two things where you can make music the way you want to do it, but at the same time, use social media, for instance, as a strategy to get the cash you need to put more music out.
Yeah, and it has to be a quality behind it, of course. And that's, I mean, of course the music game has changed. That puts us in a way of not, instead of going towards it like, the music game has changed, it would be so much easier, it was back then. And instead of trying to maybe facilitate and actually use it for the benefit, because we are young guys, instead of like the old major label or old heads that sits in the top, who maybe has more like a conventional way of approaching like putting out music, we can actually facilitate and put into use that we're young and we have like this big thing called social media that we should learn how to like capitalize on. So that's pretty much how we're going to approach it, I think.
And also a very good example is Friday we had a release. Black Tower, one of our artists, released a track called Trunk Jays. We have our meeting and we talk about, how do you want this to be? How do you want people to catch this outside? We know what it does to us, but for people who don't know Black Tower or anything, like how should that first impression, how should it hit them? And he said that he, for one, wanted it out on YouTube only. I was like, well, that's not good. That's not good. I mean, you want to put it out so you can hit a lot of platforms. You get a lot of people like, no. Just want it on YouTube. I want it out. And, one hand, if you were at a major label, they'd be like shaking their heads like, no. What we tend to think about is, well, if, let's say, Tower's music is something the sound is a little bit 90s based, but it sounds like 90s today. Well, in the 90s, would he be shopping it on the computer, or would he actually be popping his trunk outside and selling CDs like some of the great Jay-Z, all the other cats that did it back then?
He's going to sell them CDs.
He's going to sell them CDs.
Because that's Tower, right?
Because you see Tower and you see the car, and you see like, I would buy a CD off his trunk. I'd go home and play it. I'd be like, I have to play this on all my friends' CD players. I don't know if they exist, but that's what I'm saying. Promotion is subjective, and we support our artists and the people we work with and the way they want to mold it.
And what is your advice? How they should do this right? Like you said, but maybe in your opinion, YouTube is not the first thing that you should do as an artist.
There is.
What is the way?
There is certain Well, of course, there's certain rules and the way to approach it in order to put the music out. There are certain things you have to do with your aggregators and stuff like that, and you have to put it out, and you have to pitch it to the different streaming sites and stuff like that. So we have to do it within the confinements of the reality of what it is. But we try to also, as Matthew says, like give more of like the work and put it on the artist as well, so they have more hands-on experiences with it, and also have their input, because we could just say no, we're going to do it like this and that's how it is, but once again, we're all about development and learning by doing it, and for us it's just as an important learning curve to go out and experience this on your own as artists also, and that's the way we can kind of help molding them as artists who maybe will go to a major label one day, and we can put out and do stuff with. So yeah.
Staying original throughout the whole thing. Like that's how you don't lose your heart in whatever you do. And then make some money on the side.
Yeah.
And what do you think about such a dinosaurs like Quincy Jones?
Oh,
who is your role model?
But
do you
that's
have any role models?
like I wouldn't, like Quincy Jones and people like Smokey Robinson. Like those are people that I look up to, because I later understood that they are the they had such a big influence on some of the music that I love today, or some of the music that influenced some of the music that influenced some of the music that influenced. Like, it has to start from somewhere, and that's why I very much pay respects to a person like Quincy Jones, and hope to be a Quincy Jones of some sort of the new age, in a sense. You know, be able to work with a lot of people, see their vision, and then facilitate and add on to it, and then put it out in the world, and people are just like.
And I think it comes very natural just for like the genre of hip hop, because it's sample based in its raw purity. So I think it's very natural that you pay amends to the creators that was there before you, because you actually go in and use their music to reinvent it and do something new with it. So of course that's like we always learn and study the ones that was before us before we can make our own way.
So you're not like ignorant that you know the best. Your way is the only way.
Well, we are the best.
You are the best. But you always have, it's good, like you said, to also know the history.
Of course.
Because the music was changing. Like even with Quincy Jones, he was really, for me, he was a visionary, because he was like he created the music that didn't exist at the time.
Exactly.
And also, he was a black person in that time, a racist time. He was the first guy who was writing music for movies. And first time they was like, the black man can write music.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, so he was really like a game changer, and he was promoting all these legends that we know.
Yeah.
And he was really like changing the music. He was like, I'm tired of this kind of music. Let's bring something new, fresh on. It's like also your journey that you are working with these artists, and you also, what you are saying, you're trying to find out what they are good at and guide them, but also you are looking for new beats, for new sounds.
And I think that journey is a lot more fun to do with 10 people rather than maybe 2. Because they add different layers that we haven't thought about yet. Yeah. And then we help each other, then we mix, and then all of a sudden that's how you come up with a new genre. You mix a bit of everything. Me and Victor actually came to the point where in order to play the game that the music industry is, we had to separate our sounds. So I'm coming from me and Victor both coming from a boom bap era of 90s hip hop, listening to people like Elzai, Pheromonch. Some actually saw a Tech 9 concert, I think. Jay Dilla, you know what I'm saying? That side of us very much lives, but you see how hip hop today with the trap and the new school is kind of like calling out, like we would be considered dinosaurs in a sense if we kept doing what we did before. So we started Swervin' Miyagi, which is Heath Swervin' and Ace Miyagi, and here we're actually, this is basically the boom bap generation saying, well, if I could do this type of rap, and that's easy and stuff like that. We're like, put your money where your mouth is. So we're doing it. We're doing it. We're not talking about it. We're doing it, and let's see where it goes. But we also have our legacy, which is Black L and Vic Eye, and we have a group called Chubby Hearts Club. And that's pretty much where we put that on the side. And we are playing at Spot Festival, actually. Was it Spot Festival? Spot Festival this year with Chubby Hearts Club, which is the boom bap. Funny enough, the Swerve and Miyagi isn't. But that had, you can ask yourself, is that an overflood on the market of new school rap? Is there maybe a calling for something more vintage? There's always gonna mix it up, And I think that's what's awesome about music. Like, 1 minute you're like, this is hot, now this is hot, now this is hot. Like, instead of changing your head all the time, we're just laying down our flags and saying, we can do this too.
I mean, he's very good at talking, He just talks, and it makes sense.
Yeah, this is a good theme. And
but I mean,
we tell it the kinetic like that.
Yes, I mean, he says it pretty good. So yeah, I don't really have any add-ons, basically.
And let's finish now, and let's listen to some of your music.
Yes.
Thanks you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
awesome.
much.
Or how should we do this in a cool way? Like
we do like this, and then you come, and then just
like money.
There you go.
Like
sprinkles.
And the hard way.
The chubby heart.
The hard.
Yes, exactly. The chubby heart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you for having us.
Vidste du, at de fleste ulykker i kryds kunne undgås, hvis vi bruger bare 2 sekunder mere på at orientere os? Men hvad skal der til, for at vi husker det? Skal vi se en ulykke? Skal vi se blod? Eller skal vi bare se det på de sociale medier?
Er du der? Er du der? Kom, hallo?
Skal vi skrue op for dramaet? Måske vi skal bruge en
dyb og sexet stemme.
Eller skal vi vise død? Skal vi bruge humor?
Skal man bruge 2 sekunder, hvis man er på en ethjulet cykel?
Eller se, hvordan det påvirker familien? Vi kan også bare vise, hvordan det kan ende. Så hvad skal der til, for at du orienterer dig 2 sekunder mere i krydset?